Welcome to this brief screencast on the differences between the Meteor Application Template React production and the Meteor Application Template React that you're familiar with from ICS 314. So first off, I've created this MATRP, which is a production version of the Meteor Application Template. So what we did is we've created a base collection to wrap all the Mongo collections that stops the clients from directly accessing. You can't call insert on a collection. You have to go through the base collections methods. And if we take a look, here's the code. So we have the base collection. It has a Mongo collection inside of it. And so it has access to it, but you won't get directly into it. You use the methods on the base collection, like define, update, and remove it. Those are how you create documents, update documents, and remove documents. You also have a find method to find documents in the collection. Find doc is a smarter find method. Find one will find one, and you can ask if a document is defined based upon its ID. You can dump the collection, and you can restore the collection. We also have a publish and subscribe method that allow you to publish the collection automatically and subscribe to it in the client. We also have a couple of helper get methods that get some information about the collection. So with this base collection, we've updated the stuff collection. Instead of just being stuffs and having the raw stuff, it extends the base collection. It has the define method, which takes an object that has the properties of the stuff, an update method that allows you to update components of the stuff and to remove it. In the case of the stuff collection, it has the publish method actually creates two publications, one for logged in regular users and the other for administrators. They get to see all the stuff. So there's a subscribe stuff method that subscribes only to your stuff. It checks the logged in user's ID against the owner of the stuff and only returns those filtered items. Or the subscribe stuff admin, which checks to see, are you in an admin role? And if you are in an admin role, I'll give you all the stuff in the stuff collection. Also added user profiles to the Meteor Application Template MATRP. So this allows us to hang additional information about the users in the system, and we're not using the Meteor user collection. We're actually got two collections, admin profile collection and a user profile collection. Right now, they're basically identical. They have a first name, last name, email, the role, and then the user ID is how we tie the profile back to the Meteor user. So we can say, oh, I have the Meteor user ID for the logged in user. I can find their profile quite easily. We've wrapped a user collection. We've created a user collection that wraps the Meteor users. So now the user collection can have a method get profile that takes an ID, searches the admin profiles, searches the user profiles, and returns a profile if found. It's a nice sort of thing. So now you can expand your users to have all the information your application needs for the users. Also added a MATRP class, and its job is to map the name of the collection to the actual collection. So you can get the collection given a collection name, and so it's going to return the actual collection instance. So that's a very nice way of, for example, here's the list of collections that are in there. We have the admin profiles, we have the stuffs and the user profiles. If you want more collections, you can add them and add here. And so now you can ask the MATRP class what the instance, singleton instance, give me the collection for this name, and it will. That we also added unit tests for the collection using Mocha tests, fast check, and faker to create realistic data. So we check that we can define and remove an object from the collection. We check that we can update the collection, and we check that we can dump one, remove it, and then restore one. and that is stored in the stuff collection.test.js file. And we've added an npm script to our package.json that's test unit, so you can run the test unit and it'll run all the unit tests. We've added methods since we removed the insecure package from Meteor, meaning that the client can no longer directly access the collections. So they have to access the collection through these Meteor methods, which we're using a validated method. So we have a define method that takes an object that has the collection name. What collection are we defining this thing in? And then the define data is the object that is the parameters to the define method. The update method, again, takes a collection name. The update data is an object that has an ID field indicating which document ID I want to do. And then the rest of the object is the update. So what do I want to change in that document? And the remove it method, again, takes a collection name and an instance, and the instance is basically the ID of the document you want to remove or the document that you want to remove. And so now on the client side, we can call define method, update method, or remove method to manipulate the collections. And that's the only way we can get access to the collection. We can have the access, but to update or change the collection, we have to use the methods. We can still do a find on it, but we can't change the collections unless we use the validated methods. We also have integration tests for the methods. So the integration tests, you're using JavaScript's async await functions. They call the base collection methods to check and then check the results. And so the examples, the stuff collections method app test. So you can see here, we've got testing it on the client. We say we can define it, so we await. We have the async function, so we can call await inside of our function. So we define a test user. We log in with a logged in user. We then get the subscription, so we need to subscribe to all the collections that we're interested in. And then we get this collection, the stuff collection name, the definition data. We create the definition for a stuff. It's got a name, a quantity, a owner, and a condition. And then we define that stuff. We check to see that is it defined, and then we get it, and we check that it's got the right values. We then update it, go through, and then lastly we remove the one that we created, and then we expect that it's no longer defined. So we're testing the client to server. We're testing the methods that are updating the collections on the server from the client. And again, we've got another script, npm script test integration, so you can run npm test integration to test those methods. Another change in MATRP versus meteor application template is we're using functions instead of classes for our React components. So for example, the landing page is now a function that returns the React code, the React thing. And if we need state for our pages or components, we're going to use the useState React hook instead of a class with a constructor. It just makes life a little bit cleaner. Again, on the client side, we use the validated methods in order to change the collections or do any sort of database-y work. Because we can't directly access the database. We can still do finds and stuff, but we can't actually change the database unless we use the validated methods. We also have acceptance testing, similar to what the meteor-application-template-react does. We make sure that all the pages render. The current set of acceptance tests is not complete for all the pages. I'm trying to figure out how to get the edit page and how I'm going to click a link to get to the edit page. That's not done. And also, we want to exercise the forms. Again, this is not complete. I don't check every single form in MATRP yet, but we do have a test acceptance script that will run the acceptance tests in regular mode, and we have a test acceptance in development mode. So if you have your application running, you can run test acceptance development, and you can watch the acceptance tests against your running application. And that's often very nice to see what's going on. What's causing the problems. Are you not selecting the right thing? Are you not going to the right page? Whatever. Test acceptance is what's going to run on the continuous integration. So we have continuous integration using GitHub Actions. It's in the .github workflows CI YAML file. And so we've got the CI MATRP. It creates a Ubuntu machine on GitHub. It then loads up the Meteor. It does the npm install. It runs Meteor npm lint. So we do the lint check. We then test the unit tests. We then run the integration tests. And finally, we run the test acceptance. So every time we commit to main, we run these tests. And if it fails, you'll get an email saying you committed to main and the test failed. And it will show you what failed. It's a very powerful way to ensure that your application is continuously tested, and that main is the best version of your application. So those are some of the changes between MATRP and the meteor-application-template-react. We added a few things, we wrapped some things. It makes it a much more production-ready system that, since you took 3.14, it should make your application for 4.14 much better. Thank you for your time.